Welcome to Rice TVX. On today's Rice Report, we're going to be talking about this thing called Evergrande. A lot of people are talking about this on the mainstream news, and today's episode is going to be what you should know. Oh, now if you happen to see me promote this, I think I might have put the wrong time on my social media accounts and actually posted that we're doing this at 7 p.m. But we're actually doing it, as you see, at 8 p.m., which is when it was scheduled for. So we're going to go ahead and get this stream started. If you're watching this on replay, I would say fast forward to about the 4 minute and 20-second mark. Going to play a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX, and you can find information down below in the video description for Presearch, Monarch, and BitSwap DEX.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for you. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
And we are currently live streaming on both Rice TVX and Rice TVX 2. If you're not subscribed to Rice TVX 2, that is the backup channel. That's where you can find me in case something ever happens to my main YouTube channel. And also make sure you're following me on Odyssey as well as Library. Make sure you smash that like button, as it helps other people to be able to see these videos in the YouTube algorithm flow, and it helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate your support. Real quick, again, like I said, if you're watching this on the replay, that 4 minute and 20-second mark would be where we're at, giving everybody time to get situated into today's live stream. If this just happens to be your first time ever watching any of my videos, I do encourage you to check out and explore my channel. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with my videos as they come out. Also, due to all the recent censorship, make sure you subscribe to my backup channel, Rice TVX 2, The Sequel. And I've also recently deleted more than half of my videos on my main YouTube channel, which means you can find 100% of my content plus exclusive videos over on Odyssey and Library. If you haven't already, be sure to visit ricecrypto.crypto and sign up for the mailing list so that you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. You can also find all my social media links as well as merchandise that is coming soon. If you'd like to support the channel directly, consider joining my Patreon, where I have 3 different levels of membership, or if you'd like to send a direct contribution or tip, I have my Cash App information, PayPal, and my CoinTree link for cryptocurrency addresses listed below in the video description. All right, what is good, ladies and gentlemen? I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate very much. Before we get things started, I do want to let people know tomorrow, I haven't scheduled this yet, but I will be doing it soon after this live stream. But tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a live stream talking about my legal fiction journeys. A lot of people have been asking questions. Going to be talking about where I stand and what I'm doing moving forward. Also going to be talking about the group that I was trying to put together of this gathering of different teachers and groups. So I'll elaborate on that tomorrow. Thursday, I think it's going to be 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time and 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be going live with Derek Bros from The Global Witness. If you're not familiar with this channel, check it out. I've been looking forward to having this conversation. I've known Derek for a couple of years. So Rice TVX and The Global Witness Thursday, I think that would be the 23rd, and that would be at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And then Friday at 7 o'clock. I have Crypto Rewind going on with my co-host, Satoshi Sean, and we'll have a very special guest this week. Also, kind of in between that on Friday at 5 o'clock p.m., I'll be on Around the Blockchain on BitBoy Crypto, which I'm usually on Fridays. Now, one of the things that I wanted to let people know is just kind of the basics of what Evergrande is, and what the effect it's going to possibly have and why you should know this information. I talk a lot in videos about hedging against this inflation, hedging against this coming financial economic collapse, not only here in the United States, but globally. And I encourage people, not financial advice, but I encourage people to diversify investments and savings into things like precious metals, gold and silver, and cryptocurrencies. So in case you don't know, you're new to the channel or you haven't taken advantage, I have partnered up with Money Metals Exchange. You can get a free ½ ounce of silver. You would just need to use the promo code RICE. And I want to play a real quick little commercial promo that I made that you might have seen about Money Metals Exchange and how you can get that free ½ ounce of silver. Take advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. Get your free ½ ounce of silver. All you need to do is be a first-time buyer, visit moneymetals.com, purchase a minimum of $100, and use the promo code RICE. You get that free ½ ounce of silver, and it's another way to support the channel. So yeah, make sure you're taking advantage of that if you haven't already. Again, it is a way to support the channel, and it's a way to look out for yourself. And no matter what happens with the price of gold and silver on the short term, because you may see some volatility, you may see it start going down, I always encourage people to do something called dollar cost average buying and selling, no matter what it is. And if you do that, you're going to reduce the volatility of the price swings, and you just average your price in. So like, let's say you can afford to every 2 weeks invest $50. Then you would be consistent with that no matter what the price of what you're buying is. And then you would just average your prices in with the dollar cost average. And especially with Bitcoin, I've done a video that you could check out where I do the dollar cost averaging. I think it's called the best, safest way to invest in Bitcoin. So you can check that out. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Real quick, go ahead and acknowledge everybody who's here. Rice TVX2, make sure you subscribe right here to the backup channel. And Wyatt Hunter, appreciate you tuning in. Simon Hornstra, yeah, we are live. And Andy Lee, thank you for tuning in. Janice Kowalski, thank you so much. You guys can check out Janice has a channel on Odyssey and Library you can check out where videos are reposted from other content creators, good, useful information. Cyrus Weimer, thank you for tuning in. Louis Colbert, thank you so much. Freedom is my second favorite F word. I love it. I can only imagine what the first one is. Oh, and speaking of juice, so Tara Spence, thanks for tuning in so much. I appreciate. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing some articles and part of a video, and everything's going to be linked down below because I'm not going to be sharing these articles in their entirety. Just going to be highlighting a few things from each of these articles and just giving you kind of a basic understanding of what's going on with this Evergrande Group. Some people are calling it Evergrande, but Evergrande, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. And it was a real estate company that formed in 1996. And it's a Chinese company. They're the second largest property developer in China. And they're one of the largest property developers overall. The problem right now is they're over leveraged. They're about to default on $300 billion worth of debt. And that's an incredibly large amount of debt. And part of what I'll share in these articles and videos will explain the potential possibilities of the effects of this. I mean, 300 billion is a lot. People are saying that this situation reminds them, and you're hearing this on the mainstream news, that it reminds them of 2008 in September with the Lehman Brothers, with what happened with them, sparking the great financial crisis. And you would think after 2008, with the over leveraging, with the derivatives, with everything that was going on, you would think that this either wouldn't happen or wouldn't be allowed to happen. Because in 2008, we just had to bail out a bunch of too big to fail financial institutions that basically are a criminal cartel. And we're still in the process of doing that. And is China going to do that? So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Right now, the Chinese government, from what I'm understanding, are saying they are not going to intervene. But I'll explain to you the effects of that. This dump is fitting an ETH dump during the summer of 2008 before it went parabolic. Yeah, and I definitely think that obviously everything got affected, including the cryptocurrency markets, with this news. And the interesting thing is right now there's a holiday going on in China. So the markets were closed on Monday and today on the 20th and 21st. And the market's going to be reopening tomorrow. So we'll see how the effects are. I believe that the Evergrande stock has plummeted since the beginning of the year, something like 80%. And they specialize in residential construction and hotel operations and finance and health industries. They're best known for buying land and building large residential structures. And what's crazy about that is there was so much construction going on in the 2018, 2019 Chinese real estate bubble that there wasn't a lot of oversight being done. So there was a lot of cutting of corners and doing things not in the most safest manner, just doing things in what was in the cheapest manner, which is also, really something that ultimately causes more upkeep unless these properties get sold, which was the idea. And in addition to that, they even diversified into things like bottled water, electronic vehicles, streaming services, and they even invested or own a soccer team. They have over 125,000 employees worldwide. And so with the 2018, 2019 Chinese housing market bubble, they were just taking out all these loans, and it was basically kind of like a Ponzi scheme where they were, I'm trying to make sure I got all my notes here correct here. So I'm going over everything and making sure I'm giving everybody correct and factual information here, because this was pretty interesting. So in June of 2021, Evergrande warned their investors of unpaid commercial loans. And soon after, China tells their banks to stress test their exposure risk against Evergrande that they have, because basically the banks were warning them not to be overexposed in the event that something happens. And Evergrande had every opportunity to try to correct the situation. After the housing market situation, where they were basically, I'm trying to find this information where I wrote down about how the Ponzi worked. So, oh, here it is. Basically running a Ponzi scheme, shifting money. And they would take pre-sales from apartments and use that to fund down payments to get other properties. And they would continue doing that, in the process, getting all these different loans from different banks, financial institutions. And that's how they're getting this over leveraged situation. Now, normally, this wouldn't even be a problem. But the problem that came in was in 2020, we had this situation with this pandemic, and we had a supply chain slowdown. We had supplies, building supplies, basically, like all your supply costs were skyrocketing. Labor was harder to come by. And so then, like I said, then you had Evergrande give the warning to their investors. China gave the warning to their banks. September 16th, which would be 5 days ago from making this video, China warns that the bank is not going to be able to pay its interest payments. And stocks are falling, and you have over 1 million home buyers that have purchased homes that haven't gotten the homes, that are kind of in limbo. So with the articles I'm going to share, we're going to get into a little bit of how this can ripple out and affect the rest of the world, because, and they're kind of calling it like a contagion. And so basically, long story short, and I'll go into a little bit more about this, but if China bails them out, then it shows that Evergrande is too big to fail and gets away with this. If they don't bail them out, then it is extremely possible, very much extremely possible, that the Chinese economy will fall apart. And not only, what's the big deal about that is that China is the largest economy in the world. So we'll see how things get when the Chinese market opens back up tomorrow and more information. I think they had an interest payment due this past Monday they weren't able to make, and I believe they have another one coming up. I think the date that I heard was the 29th, but I'm not sure what the 29th falls on. That's a week from tomorrow. So it is possible that 29th is the next due date. And this is crazy. So let me go ahead and do a quick screen share. And this first article, again, these are all linked down below. First article, the global economy could feel the effects of China's Evergrande crisis. Here's what investors should know. And it's from CNBC on Monday, the 20th. And the key points that they're talking about here is Chinese officials are expected to stem the spillover from liquidity issues at Evergrande, the country's largest property developer, before it slams the banking system and bleeds into foreign financial centers. But strategists also say Beijing needs to act quickly to restructure Evergrande because markets are becoming nervous and it is hurting sentiment. Now, what doesn't work with the restructuring problem is that they've had all year. We're here in September. They've had all year to start doing some of this. So will the Beijing banks allow them to restructure, knowing that they didn't take the opportunity when they had the opportunity to do so? And then now we're in this problem. The problems that the property developer could damage China's economy, and from there also dent the world economy. Now, 4 things to watch would be the interest payment deadlines this week, which I mentioned on Monday. The rescue plan, is China going to step in with their central bank's going to step in, and the markets resume tomorrow on Wednesday. Okay, so is it too big to fail? Now, the thing I highlighted from this was everybody was expecting the government would have some kind of resolution, given that Evergrande is a systematically important company. That's Jimmy Chang, Chief Investment Officer at Rockefeller Global Finance Office. It has $300 billion in outstanding debt, and there is a contagion issue if China Evergrande is not resolved. I think it will end up having some deep-pocketed state-owned enterprises to take over. So this will be interesting to see how this kind of develops. The next one is an article from Fox Business, China's Evergrande, What to Know. The Evergrande crisis is being compared to the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which I mentioned from September of 2008. And these are all great articles that I encourage you to read in full yourself. The part that I had highlighted, and I thought I highlighted it, maybe the highlight went away. Let's see here. Evergrande is one of China's leading lenders for everything from property to autos. The company has 2.3 trillion Chinese yuan in assets, which equates to about 355 billion in USD, according to the lender, which employs 200,000 workers, it says. One of China's largest lenders, Evergrande, is facing billions in debt with a threat of default. This crisis is sending shockwaves through global financial markets, including the U.S., where the company is being compared to the Lehman Brothers. Again, this is from Fox Business, and I wanted to kind of share like a variety of articles so that people would get a better perspective on what I'm trying to share here. Let me go ahead and real quick and look at the comments. Third Coast. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the super chat. I do appreciate the super chats, but I would definitely encourage people, if you do want to send a tip or contribution, to use my PayPal, Cash App, or crypto addresses, because YouTube and Patreon take a higher fee for things like that. But nonetheless, I do appreciate, so I'm not dismissing it. I'll throw that up back up on the bottom here. So if you want to support the channel, it's just scrolling along the bottom. Yeah, so that's my Cash App. There's my PayPal. And then I have Cointree link, which has all my cryptocurrency. That's on here. If there's a crypto that's not listed, you're more than welcome to email me, and all my contact information is listed down below. So I greatly appreciate. Thank you for the love, and I appreciate everybody else for tuning in. Let's see here. All central banks are connected worldwide. It's a property grab by the banksters who need to be hung in the public. Yeah, it is possible that. This kind of goes against a lot of the things that the Chinese president was trying to go towards with the future of China. So we'll see. I mean, if they're going to end up bailing them out or not. It's going to be interesting. China should sell the Iraq deal. They did with Biden. And Louis Colbert says China should be sued until the hubcaps fall off. Well, it's kind of like suing the American government. You got to get permission from the American government to sue the American government. So a lot of times the system is going to look out for itself, unfortunately. And, much love. Thank you again. I really appreciate everybody. Big earthquake in Melbourne, Australia. Perfect timing for an earthquake, especially with all the unrest. That's the best way I can put it, unrest, because I'm sending out prayers and positive energy to my brothers and sisters out in Australia, because it seems like they've got a struggle ahead of them. Okay, I didn't want to make this a really long video, so Evergrande, this is from Market Watch, and this is from September 20th. This was yesterday. Evergrande fears sink stock market. Here's what investors need to know about the teetering property giant. And it's crazy how much property they own and how much property was being built in China compared to a combination of Europe and the United States. So I think it was 4 or 5 times the amount of real estate being built compared to Europe and the United States combined, if I was understanding it correctly. So I went, there's the highlighted part. Again, I do encourage you to read these entire articles, but there were certain things that I was going to point out. Some animalists, yeah, watch out for them animalists, but some analysts last week argued that investors are largely justified in looking past Evergrande related turmoil, citing expectations that the Chinese authority would ultimately provide a backstop. There really isn't global contagion risk with Evergrande because in the end, as far as we know, the loans to Evergrande were made by Chinese banks that are implicitly backstopped by the Chinese government, and the Chinese government's balance sheet can easily handle the Evergrande losses, which are valued around $303 billion worth of liabilities, said Thomas A., founder of Seven Reports Research, in a Friday note. So it's pretty interesting. They give, but in the event of liquidation, there would likely be a high degree of contagion. This is where they talk about a domino effect. So this is one of the parts of the article that I would definitely encourage you to look at more in yourself. And again, they're all linked down below so that you can do your own research and get a better understanding for this over-leveraged real estate company that had big eyes and was trying to run a Ponzi scheme. And they would have ultimately been able to continue their Ponzi scheme because they were founded in 1996, had it not been for the slowdown of the economy, the supply chain, the increase, the skyrocketing in supply costs, and the lack of labor. So all those things combined, ultimately they weren't able to bring in the revenue to make the payments, which is why they're defaulting on $303 billion worth of liabilities. It's pretty crazy. And so again, the Chinese real estate giant Evergrande Group is having a Lehman Brothers moment this week. And they go in to talk about Evergrande is one of China's largest real estate developers, as I mentioned, headquartered in China's tech hub, Shenzhen. And the company employs 200,000 people and sustains 3.8 million jobs in related industries, according to its website. The Hong Kong-listed conglomerate is best known for its residential property projects across China, owning more than 1,300 projects in more than 280 cities. In the recent years, their business portfolio has extended to theme parks, sports teams, electric vehicles, and consumer goods like the bottled water that I mentioned. So the founder was once China's richest man, and he's estimated worth via Forbes is $13 billion as of 2021. And he mentioned the trouble, what the situation is, and why everybody's panicking. So in regulatory filing on September 14th, the company said that it was having trouble finding buyers for some of its assets and had brought on financial advisors to help assess the situation. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported the Chinese authorities had major banks that Evergrande bonds that they wouldn't receive the September interest payments. So that's when I mentioned that China made that announcement. I think it was on the 16th. And this is from The Observer. The article is titled, "What is Evergrande and Why the U.S. Investors Panicked Over the Meltdown?" The next one I was going to share is from Yahoo Finance. Here's the biggest risk from Evergrande crisis is Goldman Sachs. The Goldman Sachs are very familiar with stuff like this because they were involved in a 2008 situation that took place. And it was primarily a U.S. market-based thing, but that affects the entire world. Shen points out that she already is seeing signs of contagion a word that skyrocketed into financial media and lexicon during the great financial crisis when the liquidation of Lehman Brothers pressured all asset markets globally related to Evergrande. Equities and bonds issued by other developers with high leverage have sold off. Protests at Evergrande offices across China may cause reluctance amongst potential home buyers more broadly. Financing pressure faced by property developers has contributed to failed land auctions in a number of cities, Sishan. An initial whiff of contagion blew through the U.S. markets to kick off this week's trading. And that's what we kind of seen with the stock markets, the crypto markets, and pretty much everything globally. Because things like this, I think Evergrande make up something like 4% for all the world economy, which may not seem like a lot, but we'll go in here in a minute and share some of the different companies. So this article is from Yahoo Finance. The next one is Evergrande isn't the only reason the stock market is headed for its worst day in 2 months. Here's 7 other reasons. We'll get into this as the last thing. These are some of the companies that you may be familiar with that have invested into Evergrande. BlackRock, HSBC are among the largest buyers. It says that BlackRock added 31.3 million notes of Evergrande debt between January and August of 2021, pushing its stake in the company to 1% of the assets in its 1.7 billion Asian high bond fund, according to Morningstar. HSBC increased its positions in the company by 40% through July, according to Morningstar. UBS increased its position by 25% through May, the latest data available in the Fund Trackers database. None of these companies have responded to requests to comment for this story. So this is where, and BlackRock is, you should be familiar with who BlackRock are. They're actually doing trading for the Federal Reserve. They own a portion of pretty much everything. It's pretty insane. Before I share this article, what I'm going to do real quick, and I'm going to stop this screen share, and I want to do a screen share with this video. I'm going to just play a part of the video. The entire video is linked down below. And again, I definitely encourage you to watch this video. It's a really informative video. And it's from a channel it's a guy named Graham Stephan. It's got 3.4 million subscribers. And the video is called Everything is Falling, the Evergrande Crisis Explained. I'm going to take this back a few. Give me a 5x5 and let me know if you
needs a lot of
this.
moving parts. And as a result, Forbes noted that they had more than 125,000 employees around the world. But
so 5x5. Can you guys hear that good? Let me know. I do hope this information is helpful. And if you like this kind of information, you want to learn more about economics, I've got a playlist down below. I encourage you to explore my channel. I've got an economics playlist. I have a playlist for the Rice Report, and I have a playlist for Money Metals Exchange. I have interviews with Lynette Zhang from ITM Trading, George Gammon from Rebel Capitalist, all in this vein. Conversations with Mike from Rethinking the Dollar, someone else who I respect a lot as a content creator. All right, we got a 5x5. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play out, and then I will continue running my mouth for a little bit.
But there was also a growing problem, and that would be debt. In order to pay for the cost of building these residential skyscrapers, they have to borrow money. Most of that is generated from large banks, institutional investors, bondholders, or even home buyers who agree to loan them money in exchange for a down payment or a modest interest rate for a few years until eventually the project is complete. Now, in a normal market where Evergrande could sell the newly built properties for a profit, paying off their debt wouldn't be a problem. Although, unfortunately, the real estate market in China began to see a sudden shift that would lead to the perfect storm, causing everything to come crumbling down. Throughout 2018 and 19, China experienced what many people would call a real estate housing bubble boom, as citizens preferred to invest their money in housing as a safety net, causing the real estate market to increase double digits year over year. On top of that, the urbanization of rural China, combined with the societal pressure to own a home, caused a massive relocation to cities who promised greater earning potential and more opportunities, thereby further driving up the market. In fact, China was building 5 times as many homes as both America and Europe combined. And still, the supply was so low that some cities resorted to a lottery system that would decide who gets to buy a home, some with the chance of being picked as low as 1 in.
This guy does a really good job of explaining basically what Evergrande is, how the crisis works out, what could play out, because I do like to study economics, and I do like to keep myself abreast of this, and I like to consider myself knowledgeable, but I'm definitely not an expert. And I would say that this guy has explained it in a lot better way than I can do, especially in a short amount of time. The best way I can explain what Evergrande is, as I mentioned, is a Chinese company. It was a real estate company. They started branching out in other areas, whether it was streaming services, whether it was sports, whether it was electric vehicles or bottled water. They were getting their hands in a lot of different pots, but they were best known for buying up lots of land and building up big residential structures like high-rise apartments that would house a lot of people. Basically, a lot of units that could be sold for profit so that people could make money, because that's basically what this is all about, isn't it? So it's really sad to see what's going on. Again, considering 2008, I don't know why governments would allow this, considering they're bailing them out, and then people are the ones paying for it in their taxes. So ultimately, this is us. So there's things that we need to do to stand up, because we need to let our politicians know how we feel about bailing out the institutions that are doing things like this. Because I'm bringing this to your attention because I don't think this is going to be the first time you hear something like this. And the more that this happens, it's going to be like that Jenga game where you pull out just the right piece and the whole thing just crumbles, or a domino effect. People thought it was going to be like that with Deutsche Bank. They kept Deutsche Bank alive. It's been downrated, just like Evergrande has been downrated. Is this going to crash everything? No. Could it have rippling effects that are going to cause more issues? Yes. And so it's going to be a matter of seeing what China does. But it's good to be aware of these kind of situations so that when they happen again, you're aware. And if things like this continue to happen and we have a global financial collapse, then anything that you have in the bank, any kind of savings, anything that's wrapped up in the stock market, IRAs, 401ks, all it's going to be gone. It's not even going to exist anymore. So that's why I encourage people to diversify into things like gold and silver, into things like cryptocurrency. I got links down below. Real quick here, because I was going to share one more article. So let me go ahead and get that screen share ready. And then before I do that, I will remind people that if you're interested in getting involved in cryptocurrency, on my Linktree, Rice Approved, I have the platforms and services that I recommend, whether it's education, trading, earning Bitcoin through shopping, and different methods, earning interest or getting loans and things to that effect. So everything that I recommend is listed here on Linktree/Rice Approved, and it's linked down below as well. And then again, Money Metals Exchange. You can do monthly golden savings plans. You can even convert your 401k and your IRAs into, I don't know about your 401k, I may have said that wrong, but you can convert your IRAs into a gold and silver programs through them as well. They have lots of great products, and they have a great reputation. And so here is the last thing I was going to share. The 7 other reasons why we're seeing the stock market going down and why it was headed for its worst day in 2 months, which is really crazy to say that it's headed for its worst day in 2 months, because the stock market has just been doing nothing but go up, 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 up. So it definitely needed a correction, which we'll see as one of the reasons as well. Okay, so U.S. stock market benchmarks were tracked to post the worst daily drops in more than 2 months, with the skid being blamed on the potential collapse of Evergrande. So here are the other reasons for what we're seeing happening in the financial economic world as far as prices going down and all this fear. First would be the Delta woes. The Delta variant of the COVID-19 is resulting in higher case tallies in the world's largest economy. The U.S. is now averaging more than 2,000 deaths daily, according to the New York Times tracker. You can continue reading this yourself if you'd like to. The next part would be the Fed taper talk. Fed are talking about deflation, which is going to be interesting, but they're talking about a deflationary event try to combat this inflation and potential hyperinflation that we could be experiencing. So on today and tomorrow, the Fed Open Market Committee meeting. Markets are fixated on the rate setting, where the Fed officials face the prospect of winding down the accommodations that have propped up the markets since the start of COVID-19. So that's going to be interesting. The Fed has been buying $80 billion in treasuries and $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities each month since last June to keep long-term interest rates low and bolster demand. So they've been propping up the system to keep it alive. Now they're talking about not doing that anymore. The next would be the debt ceiling. On Sunday, this past Sunday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen urged Congress to raise or suspend the nation's debt ceiling or risk widespread economic catastrophe. The Congress has raised or suspended the debt limit about 80 times since 1960, Yellen says. And during the Trump administration, congressional Democrats agreed 3 times to suspend the debt ceiling. So that's an issue. The next is September and stock market seasonality, because September is usually it's been one of the worst months for stocks. So, and investors think that the market might behave true to that pattern. So a lot of people are speculating downward, selling off things because they're speculating and such. But yeah, September has been basically a bad month for stocks. And again, a correction is due. So it's been nothing but going up. And the reason why the stock markets are going up and hitting all-time highs while we have record number of unemployment is because we have the Federal Reserve and central banks stepping in, propping up the markets. And that's why I'm saying we're completely disconnected from reality. Inflation lingers. There's all the talk of inflation. I've made videos. If you haven't seen the video that I did, inflation, deflation, disinflation, and then I even added stagflation due to someone's request, explained, and then I talk a little bit more about money metals exchange and that. While I'm here on Rice TVX2, there is extra content that you're not going to find on Rice TVX. Some of it you will find on Odyssey, but there is extra content on Rice TVX2. So that's why I encourage people to make sure you subscribe to both channels. I got these 2 freedom spotlights, this conversation with Eric Sullivan from Kool-Aid. There's an interview that someone did with me. Beth Martins interviewed me. So there's other extra content in addition to some of the videos that you'll see on Rice TVX. And also make sure that you're following me over on Odyssey. That's where I have a full backup of all my videos. My full catalog is there. I deleted more than half of my videos off of YouTube. All my videos are over on Odyssey and library. Okay, so again, all these articles, this video, it will all be linked down below in the video description. And let's see here. Make sure you're taking advantage and get your free ½ ounce of silver from Money Metals Exchange. Use the promo code RICE, RICE, and you get to support the channel and you get a free ½ ounce of silver. Make sure you sign up for my mailing list over at ricetvx.com. I'm going to start sending out a newsletter, a weekly newsletter, which I have not started, but I will be starting that. I'm working to have merchandise up. I've been working on designs. I'm getting everything figured out. I'm probably going to be making a video talking about, I'm going to be looking for some help and some other things that I will be addressing in a future video. So just stay tuned for that. And if you're interested in scheduling a crypto consultation, you could do so. This is listed down below as well in the video description. Just email ricemediagroup@protonmail.com. These are my rates, and I do group rates as well, so you can inquire about that. I want to make sure there wasn't anything else that I wanted to cover. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Chinese bottled water comes with a fortune cookie. I definitely can't say that I have bought Chinese bottled water that I'm aware of. Do you think there's a front for the big push of the yuan dollar? I mean, going into a digital direction, Cyrus would just give them a little bit more control to keep this situation kind of from going out of their control. They would have a lot more control over things in a digital based system. So it would be, and that's, that's one of the reasons why I feel like they're doing that. Thank you for the love, man. I really appreciate. One corporation just exposed as owning and running every department in Aussie. Interesting. I had to look into this. Thank you for sharing, Jackie Allen. Again, if you just happened to miss it at the very beginning of the video, I'm just going to play this real quick little infomercial I made about Money Metals Exchange. Take advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. Get your free half ounce of silver. All you need to do is be a first-time buyer. Visit moneymetals.com, purchase a minimum of $100, and use the promo code RICE. You get that free half ounce of silver, and it's another way to support the channel. Yeah, I was just looking at the price of silver. It's like $22.50. So, I mean, and these are good prices to do your dollar cost average buy-in. So you're buying at different rates, whether it's going up or down. And if you buy, I think it would just be like 4, maybe 5 ounces of silver to put you at that $100 minimum, and use the promo code RICE and you get a free half ounce. That's worth right now like $12, $13. And then if you were to actually buy it from a dealer, you're not gonna be actually paying the spot price. You're gonna be paying an extra fee on top of that. So that's kind of how that world works. Again, sign up for the mailing list over at Rice TVX. Make sure you subscribe to both Rice TVX, Rice TVX2 on YouTube. Make sure you follow me over on Odyssey, on BitTube. I was on BitTube, but BitChute, I'm going to start uploading videos. I got 2 videos there now, but I will be uploading more. I've got an interview with Cliff High and one of my interviews with Max Egan, both over on my BitChute channel. So all that is linked down below. Some of that's going to be linked on Rice TVX as well. So as always, I do appreciate you tuning in. Again, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a video about my journeys in the world of legal fiction, where I stand and what I'm considering doing. A lot of people have been asking for this, and also talk about this mastermind alliance that I was trying to put together and elaborate on that. Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific Time, me and Derek Bros from the Global Witness are going to be going live together. So it's going to be me interviewing him and us having an interesting conversation. I've known him for a couple years, and I'm looking forward to our talk. Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be live on BitBoy Crypto's channel for another episode of Around the Blockchain. And then Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time, I'll be live on Rice TVX and Rice TVX2 for Crypto Rewind, covering the last week in crypto tonight. And I'll be doing some stuff over the weekend, and I'll be recording other stuff that'll be making its way on Patreon. If you're not a patron, I would definitely encourage you to consider becoming a patron and supporting the channel directly. And to end the video, I'm just going to go ahead and play my short promo, which kind of explains a little bit more of what I just said in a little bit more of a concise way. I do appreciate you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next videos coming out. And as always, I encourage you to be the change by practicing change. If this just happens to be your first time ever watching any of my videos, I do encourage you to check out and explore my channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with my videos as they come out. Also, due to all the recent censorship, make sure you subscribe to my backup channel, Rice TVX2, The Sequel. And I've also recently deleted more than half of my videos on my main YouTube channel, which means you can find 100% of my content plus exclusive videos over on Odyssey and Library. If you haven't already, be sure to visit ricecrypto.crypto and sign up for the mailing list so that you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. You can also find all my social media links as well as merchandise that is coming soon. If you'd like to support the channel directly, consider joining my Patreon, where I have 3 different levels of membership, or if you'd like to send a direct contribution or tip, I have my Cash App information, PayPal, and my CoinTree link for cryptocurrency addresses listed below in the video description.